Support Smacking Off by commenting on, liking, and sharing our videos. Stay right where you are, more Smacking Off is headed your way.
I just received a marketing plan from a freelancer on Fiverr. It's great. And the way I'll present it, will really take it to the next level. Check it out. Skills.
We're developing an app with a freelancer and it's excellent. It's probably my feedback that made it so good.
And do you know who came up with the idea to use Fiverr? Liam. And who hired Liam? Me. Just to be clear.
You are now streaming Smacking Off the podcast. You can keep up with our current activity on Facebook at Smacking Off or Smackologists. Find us on YouTube at Smacking Off the podcast. And stay right where you are, more Smacking Off the podcast is headed your way.
Hey, this is Kyle Golick of the Smacking Off the podcast. I'm at the Basketball Hall of Fame. You don't need to come to Springfield, Massachusetts. We got our own Hall of Fame analyst in Dr. Balls.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the podcast.
And now,
Dr. Balls.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So, Ed, I've just been kind of fooling with you.
Your mic will stay muted until this part kicks in.
What?
Your mic will stay muted until this part kicks in. You don't have to unmute it; it'll unmute it for you.
Okay.
There you go. Then so we have to say welcome to Smacking Off the Podcast. And we're here with our producer, Doug Phillips. And I'm Robert Arthur. And we are with Ed Shriver and Sean Devine.
Sean.
What's going on?
All right. Just making sure we can hear everybody.
Hell yeah. It's exciting and new like the Love Boat.
I'm still trying to find me an Ann Arbor Dental School hoodie.
Hell yeah. I like that. Now, is there some special significance to that I should recognize?
Yes. Tell us about it, Ed.
About what?
About the dental school hoodie from Ann Arbor.
Remember on the show last week, I think it was Sean was talking about how we racked up some of our all-time wins against schools like Ann Arbor Dental School.
Oh yeah, you got to get. Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought that might be a sub-college of Michigan, but now that I realize it was like a storefront operations, kind of like a street preacher, then yes, we definitely got to have a hoodie for that one.
Ed, can you not find a Ann Arbor?
I'm sorry, the cat was racing across the room. I couldn't hear.
Okay, sorry. Can you not find the hoodie?
I actually haven't looked yet.
But we need to go and mention this. Ed just bought a Smacking Off the Podcast at cost hoodie.
And I'm anxiously waiting for it every day.
Very nice.
By the way, I don't mail it if you get fucked around. They did it.
Oh, I wasn't blaming anybody. I'm just looking forward to
it.
You picked a hell of a time to buy a hoodie. You won't be needing it for a while. Or wait, you do? No, you live in Maryland, man. You won't need a hoodie until when? November.
I'll need it for potentially a few more weeks.
No, you're in Maryland, aren't you, Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can all kinds of crazy shit can go on there, Doug. Even in like the middle of summer, it can get down to like 50 at night. And you'll be around the fire.
Well, yeah, I remember I went to a Nats game at the end of April, a day game, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. We froze our rear ends off and left.
Now, see, I don't know who's been to Florida, who has stayed in Florida, who has lived in Florida, but Bob can tell you when it gets 50 at night in Florida, that fucking sucks.
It's a huge problem because it feels a whole lot colder than what it is. And
oh yeah,
and 40. So we had a trailer that didn't have any heat in it. We tried to heat the electric oven with the door open, right?
Right.
And it was 40 degrees outside. And those trailers don't have the same insulating standards as the ones they say and sell, like in Ohio, right? So it's cold as fuck, man. The air is wet and cold, and it goes right through you.
It does. It's fucking painful, especially
on
the beach.
I used to live in Florida, and when I retire, I'm going back.
Oh, yeah. I plan on owning a place in Okeechobee in my life. And maybe on Hutchinson Islands, though. I love Hutchinson over at Fort Pierce. So
Sean is not retiring to Florida, are you, Sean?
I haven't thought about retirement yet. I'm not.
No, you haven't, but you don't want to get down there and become Florida man, do you?
I don't mind Florida, but
I mean, you don't want to get caught in some bullshit that like you just walk to the wrong place at the wrong time, and next thing you know, you're in the National Enquirer. Florida man,
definitely. Wrong place, wrong time, right?
Yep, it happens.
Well, that's
I'm going to be in a gated community with a community pool, a golf course, and old people shit to do.
Hey, those gators can still get you in those gated communities.
Oh, but they get the dogs first, though.
They get the dogs.
You got to get you a couple dogs that you don't really care about that much.
Yeah,
if you live on the water.
Cats.
So let me just go ahead and say real quick, out of the gate, Alabama they were in the right place at the wrong time last night.
They had a chance, but they just dried up shooting. Once they hit the broadside of a barn, then it was over for them.
That's it. And I seen it. I mean, I was ecstatic when Alabama was hanging, and they even had some leads late in the first half. But and they hung in there for a little while in the second half. But I knew where it was going because Connecticut. I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. I think Purdue is going to win this whole thing.
Well,
and the reason I believe that is that's the most awesome inside game that I've seen. I don't really know much about basketball, but I'm going with it. That is a hellacious team on the inside. They can get to the basket every fucking time.
They can do that. But I think that UConn can defend that. I think that they've got a player that can also get to the basket every time in Klingon. So it's going to be really.
Edie hasn't seen someone like Klingon yet.
No, that's true. And then the rest, I think the guards for UConn are better than the guards for Purdue, and that can cause.
That's a fact.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's you have an all-time kind of team in UConn going up against a team with an all-time college player in Zach Edey.
Yeah,
he's going to clean up if he already hasn't. I haven't seen it posted other than I think he's won the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Best Center trophy already. But I don't think they've announced the Wooden and some of those other national.
How tall is Klingon? Is he? I thought he might
7'2".
7'1".
7'2" is what he's listed at, and Edie's 7'4". So 2 inches isn't that big of a disparity. Weight wise, I think he gives up 20 or 25 pounds to Edie, which that's to me more of a big deal than the height. Because Burns had the weight, but he didn't have the height. But Edie was still able to move around. In fact, that Purdue game, they mentioned Purdue led wire to wire in that game, and at no point did I really feel like NC State was gonna win that game
because they didn't shoot well either, right?
Their shooting was. I was like, ooh, this is. I think it's something to what you, Dr. Balls, talked about last week. Is and I would agree with it a little bit in the Alabama UConn game. You get into that football stadium, and the shooting lines are a lot different, and I think that affected all the teams. And that's why it's a little easier for Purdue when you can get it down low into the big man. He doesn't have as far to shoot. He's right there at the basket. But when you rely on the three, and you've been playing in, arenas, basketball arenas all season, and now suddenly you're playing in a football stadium, I think that affects the players.
I really
Depth
do.
Perception.
Yeah. I mean, instead of it being, only 20 or 25 rows, now you're at a football stadium where there's 100 rows or whatever.
But what you're looking at behind the basket is significantly different than what you're used to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't particularly think many of the teams shot great from three. I mean, Alabama made 11, but they were still below 50% from three. And we talked about the teams that had 2 of the 3 losses that UConn had. Those teams that beat them shot over 50% from 3-point land. And I think they needed to do that. But they were in it the whole time. Alabama has nothing to hang their head about. They fought the best team in the country. That what most people are saying.
Oh, Sean,
having
I am
been
ecstatic.
there before played a big role in losing that game.
Say that again, Ed.
Well, I actually said I'm ecstatic that Alabama got to the Final Four.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
You checked that box.
And anything that they did in the Final Four was gravy, like I said. And I didn't expect anything. I know that UConn is really good, and maybe I'm pulling for Purdue. I don't know, because we didn't have to go through Purdue.
Well, sure. No, it's just. I mean, Alabama was in that game the whole time until about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, it started to come unwound, and it was hard to watch.
I am now on the Bama will be back soon bandwagon that I was not on before.
Well, that's you must have read my mind, Ed, because that's what I said. I said, okay, now Alabama's checked off getting to the Final Four box. The next one is winning the Final Four when they get there, and I think that'll happen a lot sooner than later with Coach Oates.
Isn't it ironic that Coach Oates was an assistant under Coach Hurley at one time at Buffalo? Then
I didn't
He
see
was
that.
the coach at Buffalo, and they did well.
Yes, and then he became Buffalo, and then thankfully Alabama AD recognized talent and brought him to Alabama, and now he's starting to recruit at Alabama. And hell, this team right here, we didn't think this was the one, yet he coached them to a Final Four. We thought last year's team was the one. So the next year, you can't help but expect nothing but good stuff.
And I think I read the other day, Alabama has the number 4 recruiting class coming in next year. Obviously, we have a couple of weeks until that finalizes, but yeah, it's going to be a top 5 class for Coach Oates. And so, yeah, the future is very, very bright in Tuscaloosa for basketball, along with the already great football program.
Absolutely. And NC State, you got to give them credit as an overall program that both their women's basketball team was in the Final Four and their men's team. So hats off to NC State as a program.
They were exciting to win 9 elimination games in a row to keep their season going. DJ Burns was incredible. He's fun. That was a great run by NC State. Good to see them back doing well in March Madness. It had been a few years since we'd seen NC State kind of put together a real deep run. Hats off to them, their fans, their coach. It was great, and it's always good when you get a Cinderella kind of. I know they're a power program, but they hadn't gone this far since the Jimmy V '83 team.
Oh yeah, but another thing that if you really look at it, even though there was great competition from all different conferences, in the end, the biggest basketball power conferences were the ones for right, the ACC, the Big East, the SEC. I mean, the Big Ten. Those are the biggest basketball conferences there is, and there they were in the end.
Yeah. All 4 were represented in the Final Four. I thought the games were good. Other than I wish NC State had just shot the ball a little better, made it a little more stressful for Purdue. But,
I think the layoff hurt NC State. If they had just kept going, a couple days later, they might have had better success.
Yeah, I think if that game was Tuesday night or Wednesday night, they might have won. But yeah, the longer layoff for a team like NC State, even maybe Alabama, because when Alabama was leaving Los Angeles in the West region, they were shooting the lights out, from 3. And there's something to be said about you're sitting for about a week, and and you got to go to a different facility and building, and so. That's what makes, the tournament so tough to win is it's different locations for 3 different weekends. Great seasons for Alabama and NC State. And they got there differently. I mean, NC State really used the portal heavily, and Alabama's sort of a mix. Alabama kind of used the portal a little bit, but they also recruit really well. There's many different ways to get to the Final Four, and that's what's interesting about these teams.
Oh, absolutely. And hats off to him. And I thought Horn was pressing in the game as far as his shot and when to take it. And I think he was pressing hard when he seen that nobody else was hitting, and that he just took a shot and got a pro. So he scored a lot of points, but the percentage wasn't high, and they didn't run their sets. I didn't think they took long enough in their sets. They should have calmed down a little bit, but they were pressing to score, and eventually they just couldn't hit the side of the bar.
And I think the other thing we saw kind of yesterday with the games is that I know it slows it down a little bit, and they don't want to do it, but I wish for the Final Four, we'd get replay a little bit more for the calls. Because there were some missed calls when they only use the replay, the last 2 minutes of each half.
Yeah, I think that's right. But they were even-handed with their mistakes, though.
They were, but the mistakes were still made. It's like, come on, this is the Final Four. We can't afford to have these kind of mistakes.
I'd agree. And there's been referee conspiracies in college basketball for a long time, and thankfully that they're not calling out referees by name anymore. I mean, there's been people on message boards and on call out individual referees and threaten their
Yeah,
families and stuff like that. It can
I
get insane.
I don't think it's a conspiracy as far as like trying to determine the outcome. I'm just saying I'd like it to be a little bit more accurate. You know,
Oh
like
yeah,
that's
absolutely. But I'm talking about the way the fans can act, right?
sure. Well,
Fixing on individual referees, but these guys they usually earn their spot in the Final Four, similar to the way that an NFL ref earns their way into the Super Bowl. You know?
Well,
no, absolutely
analytics
right.
is starting to
Yeah,
track
fans will
officiating
blame the
more so.
refs or heck, lately, you know, with the gambling now involved, they'll call out players on teams, and it's like, come on, you know, that's
Yeah.
not right. That's not right.
Hell yeah. They want to heckle people. It's just like getting up on stage. I know there's a million people that's a better singer and guitarist than I am, right? But if they are, they should get up there and do it. But they can't do it, right? So since they can't do it, right, they should be in awe of these people that can do it instead of nitpicking every move they make. And these guys are young adults, right? And as far as college basketball players and football players and other sports, they're just finding their way in life too. And what they really need is support, not their own fans bagging on them. You know?
Right. No, I can. Yeah, if you didn't win yesterday, you should still be very, very proud and appreciative of your programs. You know, the programs for the seasons they've had. These young men have laid it on the line for what are we talking? 5 months now? 5 months straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say but good things about all of them. You know, the tournament has been very good. It's been exciting. And now we're down to just one more game, sadly, and it's going to be over. And you know we're going to miss it.
And that's ironic when you talk sportsmanship this year in the world of college basketball, that the out of the house has actually composed itself very well, whereas females have been the ones that's had bad behaviors, such as LSU and so forth, and the fights and things. But in general, the males have composed themselves very well, and they put on a great show so far in the tournament.
Well, but you know, there's no such thing as men and women anymore.
Yeah. Well, the men's tournament and the women's tournament have both been very good. The television numbers tell you that. You know, so clearly the health of college basketball as a whole is doing great. You know, and congratulations to South Carolina finishing a perfect season today. They beat Iowa, and you know that's the 10th perfect team in women's college basketball history. So kudos.
38 fucking 0.
38-0. That's incredible for Coach Staley and her team. You know,
they have no weaknesses.
That's a complete team. She's starting to cement herself as the Dan Hurley of the women's game, Coach.
Oh yeah,
you know that's a incredible program there.
Oh yeah, to meet that Caitlin Clark, she had an incredible season, an incredible career at Iowa. I'm sure she's going into WNBA, and can't hang her head. She took Iowa to the final game again, but she lost the final game 2 years in a row. If you ask me, even though it'd be tough to live with, because somebody that's played a lot of basketball.
Let's be honest, real quick. How many of us have actually watched the WNBA?
I try to watch a couple games a year and then the finals.
When you
where does Clark
say have watched it, that means ever?
Yeah.
I've watched it some, but I think that the women's college game is much more entertaining.
So where does Clark stack up against the field in the WNBA?
The fact that she can create her own shot means that she can play for anybody.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the best player in the league as soon as she enters?
No,
I think that'll take some time, but I would say probably she'll be a top 3 pick in the draft and probably be in the running for Rookie of the Year.
Dude, there'll be elite defenders in the WNBA just like there is in the NBA, right? And there's people that get paid to play defense in the WNBA just like they get paid to play defense. And those people are going to rough her up on the perimeter. And
wait, who's the top 3 pick?
Caitlin
Clark.
She's going to be the number 1 pick without a doubt because she's going to put butts in the seats.
Right.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I always look at the general manager thinking what's best for their team versus that. But you're right. She's gonna. Yeah. She'll. If you want to put people buying tickets, sure, that's an easy decision. She's she's the top scorer in all time in college basketball. So I don't think that will stop when she joins the WNBA. But I think I did read she's focused on trying to win a gold medal at the Summer Games this year.
Oh, nice.
And I think the U.S. women's team will get that done. They're going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
Mac Brooks, right? Mac Brooks has been on Caitlin Clark for the last couple of years, and for good reason. She's the most prolific scorer in college basketball, period. And I wish Mac had joined us to talk about all this. I should have reached out to her.
Yeah. No, I mean, she knows the Iowa. She knows the Iowa program in and out, and she's probably.
But I will say that she may not have been in the mood this evening.
Yeah, it's always tough when your team loses a championship game. That's heartbreak, especially 2 years in a row. And but it proves that it's a team game in college basketball, and the Iowa team as a whole just wasn't quite up to the South Carolina team as a whole.
Yeah, there was. I mean, Bobby Knight levels of cohesiveness. That's cohesiveness wins almost every struggle, right? And that's why these are team sports. And even though Caitlin Clark is great, so was Pistol Pete. But neither LSU or Jazz ever won anything. So
I mean, it took Michael Jordan years before he won his first NBA championship. It takes a team,
right? And he had to have another scorer and defender on the team alongside him. So,
how about this game tomorrow night, guys?
I think we're excited for it. I think we've all kind of talked about this on the shows for the last 4 or 5. Wouldn't it be great if we get to see Purdue and UConn? And wow, we got it now.
Yeah.
Yep, it's official.
I mean, even Coach Dan Hurley of UConn said that after the game with Tracy Wolfson's interview with him. He said, I think it's kind of, we've been the two best teams throughout the season, and now we get a chance to have that game. And
sort of the opposite of the NC State scenario. I think Purdue having 48 hours to prepare for UConn is not enough.
Yeah, it's good. But Purdue is well coached, and they've got a great player. They don't have to change what they do on offense. But I think that UConn is just seems so gritty, and that they got a toughness, and the guards are better. And I really got to go with UConn in this. I think even though that Edey can get the ball, NC State proved that you can knock Smith off of his game and cause him to turn the ball over.
Clingan certainly has it in him to make Edey uncomfortable because he's almost the same size, and he's a great shot blocker.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that UConn, presents is they have so many different ways they can score. With Castle and Newton and Caravan and Spencer. I mean, they're coming at you from so many. And then the who's the backup center that they brought in to spell Clingan yesterday? That he moves really well, so he's going to force Edey. Yeah, the freshman. He can move really well, so I think that's going to drain Edey's energy when Clingan. Okay, so he's going to have to battle Clingan. Then Clingan goes out, and you have a different kind of center that's coming in that he's going to have to defend when UConn has the ball. That could drain his energy, and he was looking a little drained after the NC State game because again he had a monster night, but he played a lot of minutes.
Yeah, Nelson played well against UConn, but I don't see an analog to Nelson on Purdue. I mean, they got good wings, but they don't have one with size that was that mobile, I think. And so really the threat for UConn outside of Edey is the whether or not Edey gets people in foul trouble and they get thin.
Yeah, I think the foul situation will be interesting to see tomorrow night. But I think we're all hoping for just a great game. I really hope it's a nail biter to the end. That's what I think we all want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's gonna be great. And if UConn does win, I mean, they'll be the first back-to-back champions since Florida in like 2007.
Yeah. That's Yeah, I mean, that'll mark them as one of the, to me, one of the greatest teams of all time. And we talked on the last show, no disrespect to UCLA and John Wooden, those great teams that ran off all those titles, but that's a completely, to me, different era than the start of the 64 team tournament.
But you didn't say the greatest team. You said one of the greatest teams, and they would certainly qualify with a win tomorrow.
I would think so, right? Yeah, I would say they're one of the greatest teams. And you know what? UConn's not going away. I think they'll be hanging around next year, maybe with a different cast of players. But Dan Hurley seems to have that program really rocking and rolling right now.
I mean, it's crazy to think that regardless of the outcome of tomorrow night, they've already won national championships with 2 different coaches since Calhoun retired. That's nuts.
That is, yeah. It's a test that. That's a great program. It's great with on the men's side as well as the women's side. They had another great run with Coach Oriema there. So, yeah, UConn is not going away in basketball anytime soon.
It looks like the torch has been passed as of late. Once Jay Wright retired from Villanova to UConn, and they might cement it and hold it in the conference.
So one of our listeners said "fuck UConn." I don't know who it was because it only says Facebook user. And then Stephen Carnos, and I can't pronounce his name. Yeah, damn liberals. Who is this?
Jeez.
It ain't me.
It ain't you. Okay. So did you see the comment already?
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at him.
I'm interested.
I'm the one that's going to be moving from a blue state to at least a purple state. So, yeah, not me.
Where are you moving? Where are you moving, Ed?
Florida.
Oh, yeah. It's mainly a red state.
But it's purple.
Yeah. These days it's pretty red.
That's fine. I'm moving out of a blue state to a red state. Even better.
There you go.
Okay, so Steven says that, hold on, let me just throw it up on the screen, okay?
All right.
Because I don't know if I believe this, but.
Caitlin Clark has an Adam's apple. Goodness. You look pretty female to me.
That's the apple that Adam bit off of and not the one that Eve bit off of?
Could be.
They get excited. Let's see what would you do with that?
I've taken a look at her. She's a girl. She don't have an Adam's apple. I haven't seen it.
It must be sour grapes. I think she's great. She's an outstanding basketball player, and
Steven's probably an LSU fan, isn't he?
Probably is. Man, a name like Karnasek, though, I would have figured that he would have been from the Midwest somewhere, right? Like Chicago.
Sorry, guys.
And, Caitlin
that
Clark
was for
showed
Steven.
Class last year. The whole world was giving Angel Reese a bunch of crap for doing the "you can't see me" move with her hand in the championship. And they asked Caitlin Clark about it, and she's like, they won.
Yeah. She had thrown up.
All you can do is tip your cap to whoever wins. That's
yeah, she didn't take the bait.
Yeah, that's sports. You win some, you lose some, but you still had a great season. There's nothing to be ashamed about, getting to the championship. I mean, how hard this tournament. We know how hard this tournament is to win.
When do y'all want to sum this season up and start talking about the next basketball season, guys? This week. I'm sure we already talked about this, but I don't remember.
We said Tuesday night, I think, is what we said.
I'd be settled in the hotel, be ready to go.
All right, Tuesday it is, and
enjoy.
It was awesome for me as an Alabama fan to watch Alabama go as far as they did. And
we enjoyed kind of living vicariously through you, Doug, to see you get excited. All
right, and if Jen pops in, she hasn't said anything tonight, but when she does, fuck those Vols.
Fuck those.
Yep.
We've got to pick, guys. Before we leave, we got to pick.
We do.
Let's do it. I mean, I've already picked, so I'm not important in this equation. You guys actually watch basketball a lot.
UConn.
That's who I got. I got UConn. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I've been with UConn the whole season. I can't change, with one night before the championship game. So I'm with UConn, and I think it's close. Say UConn by 6 or 7.
All right, so here's my take. So I'm the goober that don't pay that much attention to basketball, and I'm going with Purdue. And I've got nothing to lose here because if it doesn't hit, then we won't even remember that shit. But if it does hit, we get to talk about it Tuesday.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right?
Yep.
There you go.
And I'm still not going. And I'm still not going to be able to tell you why it happened. Just that it did happen.
But just
that's good. It does. I think you have another great game from Zach Edey. Who's been just incredible to watch this whole tournament and seasons for that matter.
Yep,
it's been great.
I mean, I watched a little bit of basketball in Purdue. Like, I've been watching Alabama basketball since I was a kid, and Alabama never has a good inside game. They're always the type of team they've got to hit threes.
They had Robert Ory. Robert Ory was strong inside.
Yeah, I mean, and he was, but Bama still was a 3-point shooting team at that point. Robert Ory was the guy who could get on the inside, and Bama has a better inside game this year, but fucking Purdue, Jesus Christ. I've never seen anything like that. As a Bama fan, just using my experience of watching Alabama basketball, I've never seen an inside game like that.
Well, if you saw Al Cinder in college, you'd have seen it.
Oh, well, he's seen plenty of good.
I've seen footage here and there, but
that's a long time ago, Ed.
He'd be watching the Alabama game, and he'd see a good center, but they'd all be at UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had to. So by watching Alabama through the years, Doug has had the luxury of watching, Sam Bowie and Melvin Turpin off the floor.
Wouldn't be a Dr. Balls episode if we didn't get some Kentucky Wildcats talking.
That's
absolutely. Right. All right, guys. So we sum it up Tuesday.
All righty, guys. That sounds good.
Enjoy the game, gentlemen.
You guys then.
See you Tuesday.
Later.
$562.